Good day. Truly, the early 2000s was the golden age of gaming, and truly the greatest time to be a gamer. The developers had honed their craft throughout the 1990s, and now they were turning out masterpiece after masterpiece. They cared about the gamers, and the specter of social media was simply the fever dream of a madman. Today, we're counting down the top 13 greatest first-person shooters of that decade.
Number 13, Crysis, Crytek, 2007. Maximum Game. Crysis is 2/3 of an amazing game to 1/3 tech demo. It was truly a thing of beauty in 2007, and few PC gamers could even hope to run the bloody thing, and to be able to run Crysis was a badge of honor, an honor I earned in 2008 when I could play it on all high, at sub HD screen resolution and barely 30 frames per second. But the bloody thing ran, and I got to experience something special. Crysis had giant semi-open world levels for 2/3 of the game, and in this 2/3 of the game, the enemies had great AI, and you could even control vehicles. Sadly, the vehicles had floaty controls, but whatever, they were there. And oh, the game featured a little thing called the Nano Suit. This suit, in addition to looking awesome, gave you maximum speed, maximum strength, maximum armor, and cloak engaged. The cloaking device did allow you to stealth, but the stealth was limited by the fact that the enemies went to the Far Cry school of fieldcraft and they all had laser vision. Sadly, despite all the excellence this game had on offer, it was sadly diminished due to the tech demo nature of the last 1/3 of the game. But despite that, Crysis showed that we could have amazing graphics and amazing gameplay, and the nanosuit would go on to rival Halo's Mjolnir armor in terms of popularity. In this game, you play as U.S. Special Forces soldier Nomad. He is sent to a lush tropical island to investigate the actions of some North Koreans. The game is best played on PC, but you can also get a version of it on all modern consoles, but this version will differ from the original PC release. The best version of the PC release to play is the version available on GOG. Number 12, Far Cry, Crytek, 2004. Keep an eye out for that punk in a red Hawaiian shirt. Man, Far Cry today is a far cry from what we had back in 2004. This game brought massive levels to fight through, mostly controllable vehicles, lush graphics, and fun gameplay that featured a terrible stealth system that would have been great, but for one teeny little issue. The enemies were able to spot you from 1,000 yards out, no matter how well you hid. The story for Far Cry was a cool late-night cable TV sci-fi plot. You are Jack Carver. After getting shipwrecked off the coast of a spooky island, you have to stop Dr. Evil from conquering the world with his genetically engineered trigons. And man, those bloody beasts were a bitch to battle. In fact, the whole game is rock hard and was not helped by the lack of a quick save, although you can get around that with a console command. Actually, finishing the game is a bit of a slog, but well worth it. This was my grandfather's favorite early 2000 game, and was one he sank countless hours into, although he could never remember the name of the game and always called it Rain Tree for some reason. As for me, I loved it even though I wanted to chuck the keyboard out the window half the time. Far Cry 1 as it is here is pretty much available only on the PC, although a port was released for both the Xbox 360 and PS3, but they use a different game engine. It is best to get the GOG version as that version works on modern systems. Number 11, First Encounter Assault Recon, Monolith Productions, 2005. You will be a god among men. Can a first-person shooter be scary? Well, Monolith sure gave it a good try, and gave us gameplay with bullet time and good enemy AI to boot. Fear takes place in an urban fantasy universe where the evil Armacam Corporation is creating a clone army for the US government. When one of the psychic commanders goes rogue, it's up to you, the point man, to put him down. The game combines first-person kick-ass action with some pretty good scares, and gives the player one hell of an experience. It has some great levels, and the enemies are pretty hard to take down. Bosses require a little tactical planning, and we also got some great guns, including the Penetrator. The story is told pretty well too. You gotta piece it together by listening to phone messages and by hacking laptops. Fear can be had on Xbox 360, PS3, and of course the PC. The best version of the game is on the PC and is best played with mods. Be sure to check the PC Gaming Wiki for more information. Number 10, Soldier of Fortune, Raven Software, year 2000! blood and gore on the floor. Hope you brought your spoon. Raven Software always strove to make the best game imaginable, and they knocked it out of the park with this one. Soldier of Fortune is a sadly underrated first-person shooter. You play as John Mullins, a titular soldier of fortune that works for the shop, and he is tasked with saving the world from various pulp-style villains, including, but not limited to, ninjas and various terrorists, and even Saddam Hussein shows up. No joke. The gunplay, man. Oh, that gunplay is some of the best ever. The game uses the Quake 2 engine and is actually a bit better than Quake 2 in terms of the shooting. You got some kick-ass firearms, but if you thought the Gibbs in Quake 2 were kick-ass, oh dearie me, Raven Software probably got put on a watch list by creating the Ghoul system where you could blow enemies apart in all their 3D glory. Add in some kick-ass levels such as a train battle, and you got a game that should be better remembered than it is. If you think Brutal Doom is brutal, just wait till you blow somebody's leg off in Soldier of Fortune. Soldier of Fortune can be had for the PC on GOG, and you can also get ports of it on the PlayStation 2 and Dreamcast. As you would expect, it's best played on PC with mods. Number 9. Area 51, Midway Studios, Austin, 2005. Government conspiracies, secret weapons, aliens! Man, I miss the days when we had a bunch of developers. The sheer amount of imagination on offer was nothing short of amazing. This is a game where you play as Ethan Cole, voiced by David Fox Mulder Duchovny, as he fights the fell forces of the aliens. And midway through the game, he makes a pact with the giant alien named Edgar, voiced by none other than King Emo himself, Marilyn Manson. And that's just the story. The gameplay, lads and lasses, was badass. You had to face aliens that attacked you in melee or ranged, and close to the end you had to face down hard to fight alien commandos. If that was it, this game might be good, but not that great, right? Well, guess what? This was 2005, and the devs gave you superpowers. Midway in the game, you get infected by an alien virus, and you can Hulk out and rip and tear. This is also a game where you can dual-wield, double-barrel pump-action shotguns. This game can be had on PC, PS2, and Xbox Original, and is of course best played on PC with mods. Number 8. Wolfenstein 2009, Raven Software, 2009. You're forgetting, I'm the one with the gun. Man, this game was so underrated when it was released. Even I hated it for no good reason. It wasn't until the 2020s that I finally learned it was a top-tier bloody game. The footage we're looking at here was from a live stream where I learned that Wolfenstein 2009 was really bloody good. I was gonna stream it to make fun of it and say this is the one bad Raven game. But about 30 minutes in, I realized that I was wrong and apologized profusely to the lords of gaming that are Raven Software. Wolfenstein 2009 is the second best game in the Wolfenstein franchise and features kick-ass weapons that can be upgraded as you collect golden levels. The levels are huge and there are even some open world elements here and there. The enemies are a good fight and the bosses are fun, and you have a cool magic gun that gives you superpowers. Sadly, so few people gave this game a chance that finding this game today is bloody tough. You can get the physical disc for the Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3, but the PC version will require a bit more work. Despite its difficulty of acquisition, the gameplay and story will get you hooked and will make all that trouble worth your while. Number 7. Star Wars Republic Commando, LucasArts, 2005. Let's rearrange some architecture. Republic Commando is a Rainbow Six inspired first-person shooter where you play as the leader of the true Delta Squad, RC-1138, aka Boss, voiced by Tamura Morrison. You and your squad have to do battle against the droid armies of the Confederacy of Independent Systems, and no Filoni baloney is to be found. In this game, you are armed with a DC-17 multi-purpose blaster. You have an intermediate blaster, a sniper, and a grenade launcher. With it, you massacred armies of tinnies and wets. But the main selling point was your dudes. With either a controller or keyboard, you could issue commands to the rest of the Deltas, and while simple, the commands really made you feel like a true squad leader. The game is available on Xbox Original and PC, and you know the drill, PC superior. Number 6. Medal of Honor Allied Assault, 2015 Inc., 2002. Thunder, Flash, This was the first historical war shooter that I ever played, and is the standard by which I judge all others. Medal of Honor Allied Assault featured two kinds of levels. You had the war level, where you had to fight in big-ass battles, and the more traditional one-on-one shooter levels, where it was just you fighting against the whole here. The game was nothing short of amazing in terms of graphics, and even had facial animations, which were a rarity in those days. The shooting was hard, bloody core. The enemy AI was smart, and the devs were cruel, and put them in hard-to-hit places, and even the lowliest Lancer could snipe you from across the bloody map. This was a game that was on the right side of rock hard. You would get blasted again and again by the forces of the Germans, only to quick load and say, "Please sir, can I have some more?" This game is in dreadful need of a remaster and re-release. For now though, you can find it on GOG, and it's best played with mods. Number 5. Return to Castle Wolfenstein, Grey Matter Studios, 2001. May the fates hold off the coming of the storm. In 2002, we finally got a follow-up to the Primarch progenitor of all first-person shooters, the legendary Wolfenstein 3D. In a mere decade, gaming had become unimaginably more advanced, and like Wolfenstein 3D in 1992, Return to Castle Wolfenstein in 2002 was at the forefront of gaming. The game featured truly next-gen graphics and had some great enemy AI, and since this is a Wolfenstein game, you could have varied enemies. In addition to the Lancers, you had Uber-Soldaten, zombies, and a Horus Lupercal wannabe. The levels were wide open and sprawling and filled with details and a few bits of tongue-in-cheek humor. The game was rock hard, but more fair than Medal of Honor Allied Assault, but not by much. And the game even included a death count at the end of each level, and sometimes that got to be in the double digits. The game was released for Xbox Original, PS2, and PC. The console versions had an extra level and a shotgun, but the PC version had the best graphics and is the easiest way to play the game today. Be sure to play it with mods for the best experience. Number 4. Time Splitter Future Perfect, Free Radical Design, 2005. It's time to split! In the early 2000s, devs were pushing far beyond what was ever thought possible, and were giving the players more than they could have ever asked for. What Free Radical did here is give us a comedy FPS with quick and responsive controls, and aiming so good you would wonder why other devs couldn't do nearly as well. Time Splitters Future Perfect is the last entry in the Time Splitters series of games, and is by far the best of the lot. You fight through a series of large linear levels that have some excellent shooting, especially for the console. You even have puzzles show up during the course of normal gameplay, and they are harder than stack one box on another and really require you to use your brain. I had not played a game before or even since that were able to integrate puzzles into a first-person shooter this well. The story for the game has you, Sergeant Cortez, go on a time-hopping journey to prevent the Time Splitter Wars. The comedy is on point. A few tropes are lampshaded, a little bit of piss is taken, but the game is largely respectful of first-person shooters. Multiplayer in this game puts most modern shooters to shame, and we get a crap ton of modes, and even an honest-to-omniscient map editor on a console game? Shout out to Mark Bustler and Classic Game Room for telling me about this great game way back in 2009. This game can be had on GameCube, Xbox, and PlayStation 2. The GameCube version has the best graphics and can be played with mouse injector, but if you want to use a controller, the PS2 is the second best, as PCSX2 cleans up the game quite nicely. Number 3. Alien vs. Predator 2, Monolith Productions, 2001. I'll remember whose ass to pull out of the fire when everything goes to hell. You knew this one was coming. If you are an Alien or Predator fan, you will have heard of the legendary AVP-2. You got all three badasses to choose from the really bad hombres, Yacha, and King Bastard. I was there 3,000 years ago, ladies and gentlemen. I bought this game for full price from a local Target and was blown away, and for years afterwards, this was the game by which all others were judged. You have high-quality menus and loading screens, in addition to the awesome gameplay. The Colonial Marine has a kick-ass campaign. You play as a guy named Harrison, and you and your regimental combat team try to make contact with an outpost that has gone dark. As the Yacha, you play as a predator currently known as Prince, and you have to hunt down the humans. And finally, King Bastard starts out as Squire Bastard, I guess. As for the first and only time, you go through the entire Xenomorph life cycle. All three character stories are interconnected, and there are plenty of little notes and text logs to find that flesh out the story. The gameplay for each campaign is complex and fun, and all the levels are huge with a great deal of interactivity. This game is rock hard Although, one of the Predator boss fights is way too easy. For me, this was the best that AVP shooters ever got. Sadly, it was only ever released for PC, and is a bit hard to find today, but with a little bit of ingenuity it can be done, and is of course best played with mods. Number 2. Doom 3, id Software, 2004. You're the control, and I'm the damage. Doom 3 is number 2? Ah man, I'm gonna get flamed for that. Doom 3 is my single favorite id Software game of all time. It was able to combine the excellent run-and-gun gameplay of the first Doom with a spooktacular level and lighting design. This game could get bloody dark, both figuratively and literally. You play as the Space Marine named John Kane, not to be confused with his great-great-grandson, Matthew Kane from Quake 4. John Kane was a hero that tried to pull his dudes out of the fire during a war on Earth, but got shafted by the government and busted down to private and sent to Mars. And now he has to face the fell forces of the great Satan. Doom 3 was the first 3D Doom and had some of the greatest graphics of its era and still looked amazing years after its release. The levels were super bloody detailed, as were the enemies. Your main objective was to blast bastards and complete some basic objectives. The blaster bastarding was some of the funnest first-person shooting imaginable. You had all sorts of creepy enemies to fight, and the darkness in the game made it all the creepier, and Doom 3 was and still is one of the most intense first-person shooters ever made. You're always on the back foot, and you gotta manage your health and ammo, because if you get blindsided by a bastard imp, you can see yourself shredded in short order. There are many ways to play Doom 3, and it's available on all major consoles and the PC. If you want to play the game with super epic graphics, get the original PC version and mod it, and if you want to play it with slightly better graphics and controller support, go for the updated re-release called the BFG Edition. It's number 1, Halo Combat Evolved, Bungie, 2001. Let the Chief show you how it's done. Halo Combat Evolved evolved combat in first-person shooters in a few ways. The first way ruined weapons in first-person shooters by limiting the player to only 2 weapons at a time. And this is really sad, because the weapons on offer in Halo Combat Evolved are some of the most iconic of all time. We have the MA5B rifle, which not only sounds awesome, but does a tremendous amount of damage against the enemies, and then you have the M6D pistol. This is by far the single greatest pistol in any first-person shooter ever. Not only does it have zoom, but it does even more damage than the bloody rifle. Despite this game pioneering the 2-weapon rule, literally everything else about this game makes up for it. Halo introduced absolutely giant levels that had to be traversed via vehicles that, remarkably enough, controlled extremely well, and for the first time that I'm aware, allowed you to fly an aircraft and then transition to ground combat in real time. The ground combat was something else. You faced a diverse set of enemies that were a real threat to the player and gave you some edge-of-the-seat gameplay like no other. Taking on a room of elites or facing down some hunters is an experience that is truly unique to Halo. The story launched a franchise to rival most movies. In this game, you play as Master Chief, a Spartan 2 super soldier that is tasked with saving humanity from the fell forces of the Alien Covenant. The Master Chief is in a league of his own. He has a major degree of characterization, but not so much as to become boring or hard to remember. It's due to these qualities that Master Chief has since become the spokesman for the entire first-person shooter genre and is by far the most well-known first-person shooter protagonist. It is due to all of this that I hereby bestow upon Halo Combat Evolved number 1 first-person shooter of the 2000s. Halo Combat Evolved was originally released on the Xbox and then later on the PC. The original PC version is a version to take a look at because you can get the SPV3 mod for the original PC release, and that mod will update and expand the original Halo experience and is in my opinion the definitive way to play the game. Halo Combat Evolved would get an updated re-release for the Xbox 360 called Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary. It would update the graphics. The new graphics are mostly good, although they make Captain Keyes look a little crap, and I don't like the new MA5B rifle sounds. Halo Combat Evolved and the Anniversary Edition would be included in the Master Chief Collection, and that is available for modern Xbox consoles and the PC.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's about that time that I say, what are your top 13 shooters of the 2000s? I bet Half-Life 2 is on there. In any event, I gotta say, this is my favorite decade of gaming. Really, it was a major watershed moment in gaming that has yet to be replicated. One can only hope that one day gaming will be free again. Until that time, I am General Lotz, wishing you good Halo 2 and good Halo 3, or whatever makes you happy.
If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, and please consider leaving a like or a comment, as the algorithm desires your soul. And I want to thank all those fans who have supported this channel, both past and present.